Welcome to a new What I Eat in a Week. I actually started this on a Tuesday because I was sick, so on Monday I felt like I couldn't do this video, but then on Tuesday I did feel a little better. However, I did not feel good enough to make any other breakfast than my regular oatmeal. I just didn't have the brain power to experiment or do anything out of the ordinary. Because when you're sick, your taste buds also get affected, and at least I knew I would be okay eating this. Oatmeal is also warm and comforting, which is kind of nice when your throat is irritated. And as I've mentioned before, I can't swallow pills that well, so I emptied my vitamin D and B12 in the bowl and mixed that in with the oatmeal, and I topped it with the usual hemp seeds, cinnamon, and frozen wild blueberries. By the way, I'm still actually sick. I'm recording this voiceover on the Saturday the same week, so if I at some point during this video sound a little sick, that's why. And I had a banana with this as well. Tea is also really nice for the throat, so I had green tea. For lunch, I had leftover chickpea and rice curry casserole from my ebook. I made an entire casserole of this so I could eat it multiple days in a row because I didn't have much energy to cook. And I love this dish, so I felt like it was a good choice when my taste buds were quite off. It's supposed to be way creamier though. I don't know what I did wrong this time, but I blame being sick. However, the rice does absorb some liquid in the fridge, so before heating it, you can just add some water, and ideally you can reheat it on the stove because that really brings out the creaminess. But since I was really lazy this day, I just reheated it in the microwave. Then I had more tea. This is one of my favorites when I have a cold or feel like I'm getting a cold because it contains a lot of herbs that are said to be good for the immune system, and it also tastes really good. By the way, I had lots of tea this week, but I only filmed it on this day. Due to my lack of appetite, I didn't snack much. I only had fruit for the most part, and this day I just picked a banana. Unfortunately, I didn't have any leftovers to eat for dinner, but I wanted to do something super simple but also flavorful so I could taste it. So I cooked some whole wheat pasta and made a pesto. I just improvised the pesto. I always add like 1 pot of basil, but I don't know, probably because it's winter, 1 pot was way too little this time. So I did something else too, as you will see later. But the other ingredients were garlic, lemon juice, olive oil, nutritional yeast, and salt. And hemp seeds, I almost forgot. Yeah, so as I was blending it, I was like, oh no, this will not make 2 servings because I really wanted extra for the next day, so I needed 2 servings. And I've never tried green pea pesto, but I know it's a thing, so I quickly cooked some frozen green peas on the stove and added them. I was a bit skeptical about the peas because I had never tried it, and obviously, as you know by now, my taste buds were not working like usual. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. It did taste really nice, so I will probably make this again. I decided to add sauerkraut to it as well because I remember I had it in the fridge and it contains probiotics, which I hoped could make me recover faster. Wednesday morning, I had a little more energy to try something different. Or actually, I wanted to make oatmeal, but I also feel like it's boring for you to just see me have oatmeal. But anyway, I mashed some chickpeas, just a little bit, then I added capers, and I don't know what I was making. I was just freestyling. Then I added Greek yogurt and then dried dill, herb salt, and lemon juice. I wanted to put this on toast, so I also toasted 2 pieces of whole wheat bread. I added sauerkraut on top as well. And you know what? This lighting is so... like the colors, it looks so bad, but what can you do? It's winter, so... yeah, it tasted like nothing, so I have to remake it when I feel better so I can see what it really tastes like. I also had some frozen mango that I rinsed in cold water just so that it wouldn't be too frozen for me to eat. I had that leftover pea pesto for lunch with sauerkraut as well, but I forgot to film until I had already eaten it. In the afternoon, I still just wanted fruit, so I had an apple. I had the chickpea and rice curry casserole for dinner, and this serving was actually more creamy than the one I had for lunch the day before. Then I was craving blueberries, so I had blueberries. Thursday morning, I wanted a savory breakfast again, so I first made 2 eggs. I spilled a bit, so that's why there's a lot of paper there. But to my eggs, I always add herb salt, ground turmeric, and black pepper. Sometimes fresh basil if I have it at home, but I didn't this time because I used all of it for the pesto. And I always whisk it. I don't like fried eggs, you know, when the yolk is runny. And I don't like boiled eggs either. This is the only way I will have eggs. I can have it scrambled as well, but yeah. I added avocado oil to the pan, and the reason why I use avocado oil is because it has a high smoke point. So it's pretty safe to fry in, or sauteing, whatever you call it. Then I mashed half of an avocado on top of a rye sourdough bread. I just love sourdough. It has an amazing flavor and it's also easier to digest because there are less fructans in it. They are a FODMAP that can make some people feel bloated. The fructans are reduced in the fermentation process. And sourdough bread also has a lower GI index than regular bread. On top of the avocado, I sprinkled on herb salt as usual. I also added a small bowl of wild blueberries for the antioxidants and also to get something a little bit sweet in there. And I almost forgot about the sauerkraut, so I added that to the sandwiches as well. But yeah, this breakfast is very balanced with healthy carbs, fats, and protein. And we also have the antioxidants from the blueberries and probiotics from the sauerkraut. For lunch, I had my last serving of the chickpea and rice curry casserole. I had some chickpeas in the fridge that I had to use, so in the afternoon I decided to make roasted chickpeas. Ideally, you want to dry them off with a kitchen towel before adding oil and spices, but I didn't. The spices I added were salt, ground cumin, paprika powder, and dried oregano. Ideally, I also like to add them to a baking tray with parchment paper, but since it was only half a can of chickpeas, I didn't want to waste an entire sheet of parchment paper. So I just added them to a baking dish, and I roasted them at 200 degrees Celsius until they were crispy. I was basically doing everything you shouldn't, because ideally you should also let them cool so that they crisp up more. But I didn't wait, I had them right away. So yeah, they could have been crispier than they were. I also had 2 squares of dark chocolate, and that's when I got the confirmation that I had almost completely lost my sense of taste because it tasted like nothing. For dinner, I first prepared quinoa. Always rinse it to remove the bitter sappiness. I added herb salt to it as well, but it was really blurry when I filmed it, so I cut it out. Then I prepared some veggies. I cut the garlic first and set it aside because if you let it sit for about 10 minutes before heating it up, the allicin content in the garlic increases. And allicin is a compound in garlic that contributes with many of the health benefits that garlic has, to put it simple. But the allicin is deactivated by heat. So yeah, I let it sit while cutting a zucchini. And then I added the zucchini to a pan with water. And when the garlic had rested for 10 minutes, I added that as well. Then I added sun-dried tomatoes, salt, and tomato puree. Sun-dried tomatoes and garlic are so flavorful, so I figured that I would be able to taste them, but spoiler alert, I didn't. I forgot to press record when I added the quinoa, but after adding the quinoa, I also added some kale that I had lying around in the fridge. And a can of cannellini beans for protein. Lastly, I added half of an avocado to my plate to balance out the meal with healthy fats from a whole food source. And as I said, this dish tasted like absolutely nothing to me, so I don't know what it really tasted like to someone with a sense of taste, but I would assume that it was really good because I have eaten something similar in the past, so yeah. Friday morning, I made oatmeal again, but I added a teaspoon of ground flax seeds to it as well, and maybe you could also see some frozen pea milk in there. I freeze it in sometimes if I don't consume it before it goes bad. For lunch, I had leftovers from Thursday. I added sauerkraut as well. Then I felt like having frozen mango after lunch. even though I couldn't taste it, but yeah, I felt like it. I wanted to make my banana bread mug cake for like my afternoon snack, but then I was like, I won't even taste it. The only thing I could taste was salt. So I made popcorn and I popped them in the microwave because I didn't want to have to clean a pot after popping them. So I just added the kernels to a bowl and covered with a small plate. I don't have a specific time, I just, yeah, put them in there until they pop. And then I added salt to them, and I also like to add nutritional yeast. Then I wanted to see if even darker chocolate would taste more, but nope. I don't have black bean tacos every single Friday, but definitely most of them, as you may know if you have watched all of my What I Eat in a Week videos. Anyway, on a tortilla, I mashed half of an avocado, then I added black beans that I just mixed with taco seasoning like prior. You can heat them up, but I didn't. Then I added taco sauce and corn. And then cucumber and iceberg lettuce for some crispiness. And finally, Greek yogurt and nutritional yeast. Luckily, this was at least a little bit flavorful, so yeah, it was a pretty good dinner. But yeah, I eat most of the filling first before I can wrap it. And speaking of wraps, that's a wrap on this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, despite the fact that it maybe was a bit boring because yeah, I had no appetite. But anyway, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.